So you don't gotta take my word for it. But these are the strongest carbon monsters. This thing is huge. Old school guys with mild steel headers and aluminized exhaust pipe that's gonna rust away and fall apart.
Perfect.
Welcome back, family. Autolust family. We had the Autolust headquarters, and man, today, well, last time, you know, if you new here and you don't know, last video I unboxed the world's most powerful BMW forged engine parts available for BMW. So make sure y'all go and check that video out. You know, it was crazy. You know, link down in the description. But today, I'm gonna show you the world's most powerful drive shaft for any BMW. This thing is unbreakable. It's crazy. So let's jump right into it. All right, those are those parts I told you guys about. Go check that video out, man. These are those forged parts I told you about. But we worried about what came in this thing here. This reinforced cardboard tube, and this is what came in there. This thing is huge, 4 inches thick. 4 inches thick, solid. Thank you very much. Big shout out to GulfCoastDriveshaft.com. Hit those guys up. Hit up Melissa, man. She's a wonderful lady and she loves power. Melissa will get you right. And I'm gonna tell you what's the difference between most drive shafts and their drive shafts for BMW. You know, everybody knows that drive shaft shops sells carbon fiber drive shafts and a couple other shops. But these drive shaft tubes here are made by I think it's these drive shafts here are made by Driveline Composites. You know, they are I'm gonna put the link, everything I show you and tell you about, I'm gonna have the link down in the description, so you don't gotta take my word for it. But these are the strongest carbon fiber tubes on the market. You know, this is 4 inches in diameter, 3.8 inches in diameter, and it's 1.55 inch wall thickness, so it's extremely stout. And what makes this thing so much better than any other drive shaft you can get is you don't need adapters to put this in your car, gang. This thing, like, you know, on the X5M, X6M, it has a 3-bolt flange, 110 millimeter 3-bolt flange with the 14 millimeter pin on it. This connects directly to the output flange on the transmission, and it connects directly to the output, to the flange, the same exact style flange on the rear end, because the X5M and X6M uses the same 3-bolt flange on the front and rear. For you M5 and M6 guys, they do have the 6-bolt adapter that gets rid of that CV, that bolts to the CV piece on the back, the CV flange on the back of your drive shaft. So it gets rid of all the center bearings, all the guibos. This car took 2 guibos and a center bearing. So that's so much flex out of my drive shaft. Man, this thing is crazy. And man, I mean, talking about it, I'm so in love with this shaft. But check me out, gang. It's made out of 2024 billet aluminum. I know you never heard of 2024. Don't feel bad, because I never heard of it at all either until I got this shaft. So I'm gonna show you exactly what 2024 billet aluminum is and what it does. Check this out. That's crazy, right? That's bonkers. That is bonkers. And they torque test this drive shaft at over 4,000 foot-pounds of torque. That's what they torque test this to before they send it out. They torque test it, so the bonds, the sealant or the adhesive that they use to bond the billet slip spline to the carbon tube and the I forgot what this end is called. That's the slip spline end, and I forgot what this end is called. But the U-joint end, the regular U-joint end, bond to this side of the carbon tube. They torque tested at 4,000 foot-pounds. This is the same Driveshaft company that Steve Morrison uses for his 5,000 plus horsepower, 5,000 plus foot-pound of torque, you know, drag wagon, the Bubba wagon, Bubba Chevy wagon, Bubba Chevy, however you want to pronounce it. This thing is literally unbreakable. It has the biggest spline that you can fit inside of a carbon tube this big. It's humongous, and that's also made out of 2024 billet aluminum, and the splines are nylon coated, so it gives you this easy in and out function. My stock Driveshaft, I haven't weighed it yet, but they said, you know, what I hear is it weighs around 27 pounds to 30 pounds, something around there, but this shaft only weighs 18 pounds. Here's a picture for proof. 18 pounds plus, and that's just with the Driveshaft. That's not including the Guibos and center bearing and stuff, so it's probably over what I just told you, but this is way lighter at 18 pounds, and that's the entire shaft from flange to flange. But boom, let's get back into it. You know, as you guys already know, if you watch the channel, you know I have a remote transmission cooler already in the car. Hold on, let me get this over to the table. Get this over. Oh man, look at those beautiful roses. But damn them roses right now. We worrying about power. Hold on. Guys, just give me a minute. Let me set this up.
A few moments later.
All right, guys. We skipping the green screen. You know, usually I had a green screen behind me and all of that, but we skipping that. So if you watch the channel, you know I have a remote transmission cooler already in the world's most highly modified X6M, also named Sasha. You know, and it does a damn good job. You know, it like the factory system. I'm gonna tell you what the factory system does if you don't know already, which is extremely bad for your transmission. So I would do something if I were you guys. The factory coolant sensors, it's two transmission coolers on the X5M and X6M. Both of those transmission coolers open at 219 degrees. You know, one is a coolant to transmission fluid cooler and one is an air to transmission fluid cooler. And they're extremely tiny and the thermostats sit extremely high. So what I did, big shout out to Improved Performance, big shout out to HPR Performance. We got a fully custom rear mounted remote cooler from DERALE, and it works damn good. You know, 650 CFM, dual fan, and I think when I'm doing major hard pulls, the temp peaks at like 195. You know, the inline thermostat opens at 165 and the fans kick on at 180. You know, so it should catch it right at 180 and start cooling it back down to the cutoff, which is 175, which is perfect. You know, 175, 180, that's longevity for the rest of your life, for the rest of the transmission, especially since I have a pure stage 2, you know, 1200 horsepower, 14 foot-pounds of torque transmission. That's not a regular transmission. You want to keep it cool. It was extremely expensive. Big shout out to those guys for sponsoring the channel as well. And they threw in a big boy billet torque converter. But I don't want my transmission temps to peak at 195. That means if I'm doing heavy racing, it might, who knows, it could get back up past 195. You know, the factory is 219. I don't want to be anywhere near that. That's overheating for my taste for transmission. So look what we got. Let's get this. This thing is monstrous. Monstrous. This thing is huge. Let me stand up so I can take it out. Ugh. Man, this is a huge heat exchanger. This is called, man, hold on, I don't want to scratch my table up either, so let me get something else to set this on. I think I just set it on the box itself. Hold on. Yeah, there we go. This is the DERALE race high flow remote cooler. This thing is diesel. Look at that. This is diesel. Has a spall, you know, full weatherproof, not weather resistant. This thing is fully sealed, weatherproof, long longevity. Meant to be outside. It was made to be mounted away from, that's what the directions say. It's meant to be mounted far away from the front of the car. It's meant to be in, you know, extreme locations. So, and that's where we have it. And this thing holds a little over a quart, I think a quart of fluid. It's crazy, and it flows 20 gallons per minute. 20 gallons per minute. I don't think my transmission don't have 20 gallons in it. At least I don't think. You know, so this thing will catch it directly at 180 and cool it. And then before I forget, the old cooler, which I have now, is 37,000 BTUs of coolant. This here is 125,000 BTUs, over quadruple the amount of coolant. So I mean, it's over four times the amount of coolant, you know, within the same space. It's almost the exact same size. But this is a totally different hand-welded, handmade cooler versus the Hypercool Dual Power Pack. Don't get me wrong. For that car to be that big and that heavy with the power I have now and the way I drive, for it to only peak at 195 degrees before it cools all the way back down to 70 degrees. Because soon as you get off of it and start just cruising, it cools down immediately. You know, but I don't want it to even get up that high. So, you know, that one will be for sale. If any one of you guys looking for a Hypercool Dual or a remote cooler, you know, these coolers are about, that cooler that I'm taking out is about $300. You know, I'm selling it for a lot cheaper than that. You know, this cooler here runs about $500, 500 plus, but it's worth every bit of it, you know, because we going for world record power and world record BMW reliability. This car will have the world record for the world's most reliable BMW as well. Powerful, the world's most reliable, powerful BMW. So yeah, that's crazy. I mean, look at that. Look how big the channels are. You know, it's ridiculous. And it's actual turbulators. I wish I would take these out, but I already got them tightened so you can see the inside of it. So you can see the actual fins that are inside of the fins, which, you know, turbulate. They call it turbulators. I guess it turbulates the oil to pull more heat away from the transmission fluid. So, you know, this is going to be a great help. This is going to be a very good help. And I'm so glad that, you know, I caught most of this stuff. You know, I didn't need this, you know, by any means, but for what I'm trying to go for, you know, I want overkill, I want headroom, I want everything to be extremely reliable, especially how much money in this car and how much, you know, stuff we done did to it already. I just need this thing to be reliable and work correctly for a lifetime. This is not just going to be the world's fastest BMW SUV. You know, it's going to be, you know, I want to be able to take this car to McDonald's. You know, I don't need McDonald's, but I want to be able to drive it to a restaurant, valet park it at a nice restaurant, go to car shows, drive it to the track. This is not a trailer queen, baby. She's going to be reliable and be able to drive. So, yeah. Okay, and also before I forget, if you noticed on that picture with the old setup, which I still have in the car now, so it's not old until I have the new cooler in the car. So if you notice on that picture right here with the old setup, the rear of the exhaust is wrapped. The reason that the rear of the exhaust is wrapped is just to mitigate any extra heat, radiant heat floating around back there, you know, since we are using a remote cooler back there, but the pipes are far enough away from the exhaust. I mean, the exhaust is far enough away from the cooler to where it doesn't bother it anyway, so I'm not really worried about that. But what I would be doing is wrapping the entire exhaust. And the reason why I'm wrapping the entire exhaust is for the carbon fiber drive shaft. it's no way that my exhaust will get hot. Well, I don't know. I won't say that because this car will be around, you know, 1,000 plus all-wheel horsepower. You know, that's a boatload of power to the crank. So the heat coming out of the back of those turbos on the turbine side and coming through that exhaust, who knows how hot it's gonna be. So I'm gonna wrap the entire exhaust because heat and carbon fiber doesn't go together. Don't get it confused. Carbon fiber is one of the best heat insulators in the world, but that isn't solid carbon fiber. That carbon fiber has a whatever they use to keep it together in a tube, you know, which is also high heat. You know, it's a high heat bonding agent, but you don't want constant high heat on any type of carbon, you know, whether it's forged carbon, regular carbon weave, unless it's pure solid carbon. And pure solid carbon, you're not gonna be using that in the drive shaft because it's gonna flip and flop, and you know, that's like using the carbon wing on your car to you know, drag race with. So I have 100 foot of titanium exhaust wrap. You know, this is the same exhaust wrap that I use on my downpipes, the same exhaust wrap that I use on the turbo headers, and the same exhaust wrap that you guys seen on this picture here again. So I'm gonna be wrapping the entire exhaust, you know, even though the entire exhaust doesn't run alongside the drive shaft, but I'm gonna wrap it anyways. And for you guys that believe that, you know, wrapping the exhaust will make it rot out from moisture and all that, that's impossible. The exhaust gets way too hot for it to, you know, just hold on moisture. Now, if you're just wetting the exhaust and wetting it and just the car is sitting there, or you're going through a car wash and then going right to park the car next door, then sure, a lot of moisture damage will happen to the exhaust. But I mean, the exhaust gets way too hot, especially on a race car, for this to mess with the exhaust. That comes from a lot of old school guys. That comes from you old school guys with mild steel headers and aluminized exhaust pipe that's gonna rust away and fall apart anyways.
The next day.
All right, so it's the next day and I thought I was gonna have the tank ready. You know, I wanted to show you guys on this episode, but it's not quite done yet because, you know, we trying to make sure it's perfect for the size of the space we have available. You know, matter of fact, for those of you that haven't seen what I'm doing with that, I'm gonna go back out. I'm gonna go out in the garage and show you exactly what's going on so you can see exactly, you know, what's going on. So this is the space that I'm trying to get, well, that I'm gonna get the actual tank put in. You know, it sits in this space here, and you know, it just needs to be test fitted, taken out to make sure it flows with this curvature of this front apron there. So yeah, that's gonna be like a 2.5 gallon tank to replace the 1 gallon chiller tank I have in the engine bay. So there you have it. That's where the tank is going. You know, this is just a little short update to let you guys know that, you know, most of the, well, pretty much all the parts are here. You know, I just got a couple of secret modifications that I'm not showing on YouTube that I need to do. You know, that's, you know, secret sauce. I can't have everybody beating me to my own thing. So, you know, I just need to do a couple of those things, and then we're gonna go ahead and get the motor pulled out. You know, Boosted BIMMERS is extremely busy. You know, this is not a, you know, sit around on your hands type shop, you know, so first chance we get where we got an open window where we can get it in there and get the motor pulled and start breaking it down, then that's what we're gonna do. But like I said, I need to get that tank on first to get the fender on. Then I can do these secret mods that I'm doing. And then we can go ahead and start pulling the engine out. You know, once everything is running perfectly and running correctly, and we find out that everything works with this secret mod that I'll let you guys know in the future, and where you'll be able to purchase this stuff. You know, because it's all gonna be, you know, my stuff, my kit, you know, branded, licensed, patented, and stuff like that. So, and it makes a ton of power. So, Yeah, guys, if you watch the channel, you know, and you like the build and you've been watching the races and stuff like that, you know, like, share, and subscribe. You know, I really appreciate it. Thank you, Autolust family, for rocking with me. This is a slow, tedious process, and it's extremely expensive, you know, so don't pocket watch, just watch the channel, you know, and Autolust out.